My name is Noel Postis, and I'm one of the master coaches here at Deacon Prime, and we are about to film a coaching demonstration video for you. So this is Alex. He's one of the members of the team here, and he's kindly volunteered to be part of the process. So before we get into the coaching session, I just want to explain a couple of things that you're likely to see. One, I actually have no idea what Alex wants to talk about. I made a point of saying, don't tell me. So what you're about to see is a very real coaching session. Also, keeping in mind that this video is only going to be about 10 minutes or so, we're not going to be able to solve world hunger, so we're just going to focus on something that is achievable. So I'm going to show you the coaching process in action, and we'll do the coaching session, see what comes out of that, and then we'll do a bit of a debrief session where I'll explain a few of the things that happened, and then I'll also ask Alex for some thoughts and feedback about what the experience was like for him. Now, in terms of the coaching process that I mentioned, basically this is just going to be the GROW model, which is a really simple, easiest of the coaching models to learn. It's 4 steps: goal, reality, options, and way forward. So specifically, I'm going to find out in some way or another what Alex's goal is or what he wants to move toward. The reality is finding out more information about that. The options is when we get to brainstorm what some likely next steps would be. And the way forward is getting a commitment. So Alex, before we start, just let you know, I will start off our coaching with a bit of a boundary to say, what can we accomplish in 10 minutes? And we'll just see what happens from there. You ready to go?
Absolutely.
You guys ready to go? Excellent. All right. So, Alex, being that we're filming a video and the whole world gets to see what we're talking about, and we only have, say, 10 minutes or less to do this coaching session, what's a topic you'd like to discuss where you think that we might be able to get some traction on in that time frame?
Sure. Sometimes I think that I can indulge in too much self-reflection and self-criticism, essentially.
Okay. And when you say too much, how are you measuring what too much is?
Well, for example, I sometimes take too long to think about things. I worry about, before providing an answer,
Okay. So you know that you spend so much time reflecting and thinking about things, and it sounds as if you're trying to say that it kind of gets in the way sometimes of getting things accomplished. Is that right? Or would you correct that?
No, and maybe providing answers to people.
Okay. Right. Okay. So is it about finding the confidence to say something up front, of being able to respond to a question immediately? Is that what you're asking, that you want to try to work toward, having the confidence, or is it something else that you're trying to feel or be as a result of this coaching?
I think it may be to be a bit more assertive and have a little bit more faith that I know what is right anyway.
Right. Okay. Good. So if you were to put that in terms of, say, a goal, like how you want to feel, saying, I want ... what would you say?
I want to be confident enough to provide an answer to my colleagues, to partners, to friends, and not feel as though it's the wrong answer.
Okay, good. So how would you know if it's the right or wrong answer? Like, for example, what do you currently do that makes you think about being right or wrong?
What do I currently do?
Yeah.
Sugar.
I know, it's difficult with the camera watching.
Yeah,
but feel free to take your time.
Okay.
I know I've got you on the spot. Okay, let me try a different question to see if this one's a little bit easier to work with. Because certainly one of the things that happens in coaching is, I'm not going to ask easy questions. At the end of the day, some of them come out easier than others. Let's say you said whatever it is that you said to somebody, but maybe it's 5 minutes later, and you're going, I can't believe I said that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what's happening to you? Or is it something else?
I wish I had said this instead.
Okay, so 5 minutes later you think that you know what the better response would have been.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long does it usually take you to recognize, from after you've said the thing that you said, to recognizing the thing that you would have preferred to have said? How long does that typically take?
Sometimes it can be fairly soon afterwards, and sometimes it can be maybe 1 or 2 days. It really depends on the situation.
Alright. So in those situations where it's pretty immediate, you know, a couple seconds later, what do you do in those moments?
If I have the chance, I will then say, oh, and by the way, what about this instead? But sometimes, you know, if I don't have the chance, then I'll just let things go and not follow them up.
Okay. So when it seems like you have an immediate window of opportunity, you say something, you add in that additional bit of information or correct the information you've already provided to give the new information. When does that window close?
If I don't have the opportunity, then it can close fairly soon after. Yeah.
Okay. And why is that? I just want to make sure I'm understanding what makes the window close.
I think, yeah, that's a good point. I think it's myself because I close that. You know, there's always an opportunity to follow up, and maybe I don't feel that there is the opportunity to follow up.
Okay. So if you think about one of the examples where you could have had, say, 2 days later, and that light goes off, and you go, "Oh, that's what I needed to have said."
Mm.
Is the window really closed then, that you couldn't go back to the person and say something?
Probably not. No, not in my. I don't think it's closed.
Okay. All right. So there is actually that possibility. How would you get the confidence that you need to try it? Like, say if it's 2 days later, to try to see if that window is open or closed. What would you need to do?
Actually put that into practice. Actually go and do it instead of worrying about whether that is the right thing or not to do.
Okay. So trialing it out, maybe
Yeah.
testing it for a while, see which situations it works and which one it doesn't, and see if you actually have enough evidence to suggest whether or not a window is actually closed or not.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that definitely seems like that's one track that we could explore further, or possibly get some immediate traction on in terms of what to do next. Your original statement, if I remembered right, and correct me if I have this wrong, is you had said that you do too much self-reflection and thinking about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So one example was about when you respond and how you respond to questions.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any other example in your mind when you said that we need to look at as well?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I double checked, and if this had been a longer coaching session, we probably could have looked at a number of things. But at least we got down to one particular area. So we know how you want to feel. We know a little bit more about what the current situation is in terms of sometimes feeling that you're not able to give the quote-unquote right answer at the time, but it comes to you later. And would you say it always comes to you later, or almost always?
No, not all the time. Certainly not. But I think also it's on some level fear of actually saying what I need, what I want to say at the time as well.
Okay.
Because I just have that fear perhaps that what I'm saying is going to be mistaken, or that it's not going to be
Right. So that actually,
accepted.
yeah. So that actually is possibly the other reason why you said it. It's about doubting whether or not the message itself will be received, whether it's from you or whatever the case is. But maybe doubting the other person's willingness to accept that message versus whether or not you just gave the wrong message. Okay. So that's something we could talk about in another coaching session if you'd like to do that. So for the time being, we do know that you have at least one strategy. So you just want to talk me through what that strategy is again? What's the one thing you could be doing now and practicing, say, for the next week or so before we get a chance to speak again?
To actually follow up with people and not be afraid to do so. And even if once I've had that time to think and where I haven't had the chance to do so, or haven't felt that I had the chance to do so, to actually do it regardless of time spans.
Okay. And so I'm happy to make an agreement to you, just for the sake of people watching. This is a real agreement. So I'm happy to follow up with you next week,
Great.
if you'd like that.
Absolutely.
Because what I'd like to hear from you then is, what did you discover after having done this experiment, we'll call it, right?
Sure.
This experiment for the next week of following through, either immediately or a couple of days later when that other thing comes to mind that you could have said.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be all right with you? Would you like to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we can pick up the other parts of this conversation that would naturally have happened if we'd had a longer coaching conversation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we got the goal. You want to feel more confident when you say stuff that you're saying the right things.
Yep.
We've looked a little bit about how you process the information now, and we have some strategies about how to move forward. And you've committed to doing an experiment for a week, and then we'll catch up after that.
Sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
Good. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Noel.
That was good. Excellent.
Yes.
Breathe. Camera's still running, but breathe. All right. So what you're seeing is how difficult it is to do coaching on camera, right? How difficult it is to come up with thoughts when you know that somebody's watching. Now, aside from all of that, because it was actually really quite good, there was a number of things that I did from a coaching perspective. So I did start off the conversation asking a couple of different types of questions in terms of identifying what Alex's goal was. So that's the first part of the GROW model. We spent a lot of time on the reality, looking at how this particular situation and issue shows up for Alex, and what he thinks about it, and explore when it happens, when it doesn't, how long it takes to happen. We didn't go through a lot of options, primarily because of the amount of time that we had. It seemed useful to go with what's one option that you could work with to see what would come up. And then we got a commitment as a result of that, so that's the way forward. So that's basically the GROW model in place. Now, of course, I was also doing a lot of self-reflection and commenting about, I could have done this and I could have done that, at this point of the conversation, because I know that there are some things that I didn't do that I normally would do, possibly in a longer session. But before I start, say, self-analyzing what I've done for the impact of the viewers, a really good step that we always do when we're training coaching skills and people are watching is we try to do a debrief with the coachee, where instead of me saying, I think I did this, do you agree? Actually asking the person, how do you feel about when I did this? Or what do you think about this session? Those sorts of questions. So rather than me giving my statements about what I think, I'm going to ask you questions about what you think, about the experience you've just been through. Is that all right?
Okay.
Okay. So first, let's just get the first one out of the way. How was it for you having a coaching session actually on camera?
Considering the camera, a little bit nerve-wracking, not going to lie, but good otherwise.
Okay, excellent. And how do you feel about the coaching in general?
I think it's really useful, honestly. Again, coming back to the self-criticism thing that I have, I think it's important to draw things out of me sometimes, just for my own self-development.
Right. Okay. Is there anything in the coaching session that we've just done that stands out as having been particularly useful for you in any way?
Building a framework, I'd say, of how to sort of evaluate myself and see how I can improve myself.
Okay. Excellent. Anything that particularly didn't work for you, and what would you like to have been different?
Nothing that particularly didn't work for me. Maybe a little bit longer on drawing some more of those elements out, and maybe a few more strategies, but considering the 10 minutes.
Yes, absolutely. In a proper 30-minute or 60-minute coaching session, or whatever length of time it needs to be, we definitely would have done that. And that's part of my commitment to you, that we will continue to do that the next time that we speak. If you were to make a recommendation, I'll say like to camera, about coaching in general, and to anybody watching who might be looking at this because they're either considering having a coaching skills course for their leaders, or they might be looking at an e-learning module, if you will, for how to teach coaching skills, but teaching it online through videos. If you could give any recommendation to the people watching this about the coaching process and its importance as a skill, what would you say to them?
I would definitely stress its importance. I feel can help remove any sort of self-doubt, certainly confidence booster. So absolutely, I think there's definitely uses there.
Okay, excellent. Alex, thank you again. I really appreciate it, because not only are you a legend for
Thank you.
for doing this, but you're a legend for doing this on camera. So I
Sure.
really appreciate it.